Hello, my name is Maria Ramirez, and I will be presenting the Supreme Court case of Hurley versus Irish American GLB Group of Boston, 515 U.S. 557. This case took place in 1995. Some background on the case. To start off, our key actors, plaintiff and defendant. Our plaintiff in this case is the Irish American Gay, Lesbian, and Bisexual Group of Boston, also known as GLB or GLB. Our defendant in this case is the head of the Veterans Council, John Hurley, and the state of Boston. This case does travel various courts. It starts off at the trial courts, continues to the Massachusetts Judicial Court, and then ultimately the Supreme Court. The case begins in 1992, ultimately leading up to 1995. And what's being questioned in this case is, did a Massachusetts state court's mandate to Boston Veterans Council, requiring it to include GLB members in its parade, violate the council's free speech rights as protected by the First and 14th Amendments? In this case, the South Boston Allied War Veterans Council is an unincorporated association of individuals elected from various veteran groups. The council was authorized by the City of Boston to organize and conduct the St. Patrick's Day Evacuation Day Parade. In 1992, the Irish American Gay, Lesbian, and Bisexual Group of Boston, known as GLB, applied to march in the parade to celebrate its member Irish heritage and represent the diversity of sexual orientation within the Irish American population. After the council denied their application, an obtained order by the court allowed GLB to march in the 1992 parade. When the council again rejected GLB's application for the 1993 parade, GLB filed suit against John Hurley and the city of Boston. What are the arguments for both sides? So on the plaintiff's side, GLB and some of its members filed suit in the state court, alleging that its exclusion violated both the state and federal constitutions, one being their First Amendment right. GLB argued that the denial of their application violated inter alia, a state law prohibiting discrimination on account of sexual orientation. They added that it also violated Massachusetts Public Accommodations Law, which prohibited discrimination against individuals on the basis of sexual orientation regarding access to publicly available goods and services. The defendant, in this case the Veterans Council, claimed that they were a privately organized parade, and if they were forced to include the GLB, their First Amendment rights would be violated. Key presidents cited. One of the key presidents cited was the New York Times Company versus Sullivan case of 1964. This case found that the First Amendment protects false statements about state officials and allows for all kinds of speech. The second president cited in this case was the West Virginia State Board of Education versus Burnett case of 1943. This case established that a government cannot compel individuals to express a message, in this case, forcing students to salute a flag. It reinforced the rule that compelled speech is unconstitutional. A later case to cite Hurley would be the 303 Creative LLC versus Alanis et al. In this case, Lori Smith, the plaintiff, wanted to expand her graphic design company to include services for couples seeking wedding websites. But she worried that Colorado would use the Colorado Anti-Discrimination Act to compel her to create websites celebrating marriages she does not endorse, as her belief is that marriage is solely between a man and a woman. As a way to protect her rights, Smith filed a lawsuit seeking an injunction to prevent the state from forcing her to do so, and argued that it violated her First Amendment right. The court ruled in favor of Smith, concluding that the First Amendment prohibits Colorado from forcing a website designer to create expressive designs speaking messages with which the designer disagrees. Court decision and reasoning. As mentioned earlier, this case did travel various courts, one being the trial court. At this level, it voted in favor of GLB. The trial court found that the parade was a public accommodation and ordered the council to include the GLB, concluding that the parade lacked a specific expressive purpose. The Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court affirmed to this ruling. The U.S. Supreme Court, however, voted in favor of Veterans Counsel. It claimed that the First Amendment protected the right of private speakers to choose the content of their own message and to decide what not to say, which includes the selection of participants in a parade. They reversed the lower court's decision. Significance of this case. 1. It strengthened First Amendment protection against compelled speech. And 2, it clarified the limits of public accommodation laws. Thank you for listening to this presentation. I hope you enjoyed.